Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel Coins Reaction Zone in episode 6 of One Piece, The Chef and the Chore Boy. So last episode we did the first part of Baratie arc, which they did change a lot. I am happy that Jin still showed up because I thought he wasn't going to, because they showed the Mihawk and Don Krieg thing as like a backstory, kind of a waste, building his whole costume and stuff like that, because I don't think Don Krieg's going to show up. I think he's for sure defeated and dead. The description of episode 6 is a ruthless fisherman on a mission stirs up trouble for the crew. So I think they're going to completely disregard that. They're going to immediately go into Arlong, which is kind of disappointing because Don Krieg was a big fight for Luffy because that was the first main guy that he's defeated, a guy that's already been to the Grand Line, and Don Krieg telling him how perilous it is and that Luffy doesn't care. He's going on a mission. He's going great. They did mention some of that in the previous episode with Jin. Still kind of disappointing. We also don't have Pearl or anything of like any of the strong characters, of like Sanji and Luffy teaming up to defeat Don Krieg. That's how Sanji grows to love the crew, is that he helps them out beforehand. So just kind of a bit disappointing on some of the cuts. One of the highlights though is that the Zoro and Mihawk fight was pretty well done and put together and like pretty much 1-to-1 with the show. I think I would actually give that episode retroactively, I forgot to rate it, a 6 out of 10. Sanji was kind of relegated to his own fight and a lot of stuff was just kind of just shoved in there, and like Don Krieg was completely blown away. Kind of disappointing, but the Mihawk fight was definitely pretty solid, and that's where most of my rating comes from. So that gives the current show a 35 for 5 episodes, which if we end it now currently would be a 7 out of 10 for the entire live action, which I feel like is pretty good, especially with some of the changes, but it's still very enjoyable. So I'm excited to see what episode 6 is going to entail. I am planning to react to all of them as we go through, then edit them afterwards, just all together. So without further ado, let's just get right into episode 6, which will probably be actually of Sanji's backstory, which is what I'm going to assume is going to happen this episode because he was kind of relegated to only a few scenes in the first one.
Where's he bleeding from? Everywhere.
Oh, they're using one of Zeph's backstory clothing. It's nice.
I know his eggs are way too runny. And I can tell just by looking at that.
He's not even watching, but he's looking at it slightly. I love that.
Oregano's for savages.
Help! 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 Zoro needs a doctor. He got into a fight with this warlord guy, but he lost.
It's me. And the fresh yellowtail. And the cooler. Bigger the better. Yellowtail? Just do it already.
Here we go. Oh, nice. I love that. That logo's pretty sweet. I like that they're using their Jolly Rogers like they did in the anime of like each character has their own Jolly Roger.
Are you kidding? He needs a doctor.
Fish skin. This is an old seaman's trick. Fish skin helps staunch the wounds, heals the flesh a lot faster.
Nice.
Okay? Look, I'm not going to lie to you, he's lost a lot of blood. It might be too late for him.
It might not be.
He's got one foot in each world right now, caught between life and death. You have to find a way to keep him tethered to our world. Talk to him. Tell him stories, sing him sea shanties for all I care.
Yeah, they're going through this pretty quick, and he kind of just immediately slept it off afterwards. But I guess they're just going for it.
Mihawk, I told you to bring him to me.
Captain Vice Admiral, I don't take orders.
One of the 7 warlords you serve at the pleasure of the world government without immunity.
I would still do precisely what I want, no more and no less. And what I want is to see what becomes of that young man when he...
I like how Mihawk immediately's like, huh, nice.
I won't let that
I like that. Mihawk's such a good dude.
Vice Admiral, because that boy is interesting. Maybe your grandson will be the one to find the One Piece after all.
Oh, so Mihawk figured it out. Nice. Yeah, Garp's going cray-cray.
Was one of the best pirate captains that ever sailed the seas.
Seth was a pirate?
Yeah, captain of the dreaded Cook pirates. Used to call him Red Leg Zeph because his boots were always stained with the blood of his enemies.
How you two meet? Were you on his crew or something?
Not exactly.
Oh, here we go. Sanji backstory. Nice. I'm really excited to see this. I'm really excited. Sanji has one of the darkest backstories. So if his kid actor is not great, then it's gonna suck. So I'm super excited.
It's a ship's galley. You're never gonna serve fancy stuff like that.
The old blue.
Hear that, boys? Sanji's going to the All Blue. It's not a real place, kid. The All Blue doesn't exist.
Yes, it does. And one day I'm gonna find it.
It's a tall tale told by cooks to pass the time. Now get to those tables.
No.
I like that. That's a good callback to the last episode.
You want to die quick or slow?
Who cares? I'd rather die than have you sit at my feet.
They're immediately going into this backstory. Holy crow, they're not wasting any time. They went through those scenes real quick. I'm also on slightly higher speed, but that still was pretty quick.
Storm. Sunk both our ships.
But the crew.
They're all dead. Except for us.
Oh, they did the rock really well. Yeah, it was definitely well drawn in the anime manga, so there was no way they wouldn't be able to do the island kind of thing that they did.
This is all the food we got. So eat slow. There's no more after this.
You get the bigger one.
Because I'm 3 times your size, that's why. You know something? You should be glad that I'm giving you anything at all. Now go over to the other side and keep a lookout. And I mean it. Don't you bother me unless you see a ship.
Day 25. So he's probably running out of food soon. They're not doing any of like the how skinny he looks after a while, like they did in the anime manga, probably because that'd be too dark for a kid. Day 50. Oh, they're still doing the sunburn spots. That's at least pretty good to see. I like the attention to detail. All right, here we go. It's gonna be like 1-to-1. Gonna love it.
Thought I told you to stay put.
You still have some food. You gotta give me some.
Just treasure.
There's no food. How are you still alive? Your leg.
Yeah, they skipped that. The manga had that of him eating his leg, but in the anime, he cut it off to save Sanji. I definitely like that they kept the manga explanation.
Ate your own leg. You gave me all the food. Why? You don't even know me. Why would you do that for a stranger?
I have been searching for the All Blue. My whole life, my time, has come to an end. You share the same dream as me. The All Blue. It's real.
I like this. They have good interactions together.
But then maybe you can. I need you to live on. And I'm gonna need you to fulfill that dream.
In the northern seas, there was an explorer named Mont Blanc Noland.
Oh wow, they're doing
The
the
stories were
Mont
always
Blanc
very
story
interesting. It sounded like lava.
early.
Gold sank into the sea. And
They're already going the kind of Skypiea backstory
even though nobody believed him,
from the Jaya arc. That's
he
crazy.
never stopped lying until he was dead.
What the? What? Arlong's here? So they were completely disregarding the entire anime manga.
Baratie, we have to leave now.
What? Why? Why should we leave?
Because they're looking for you.
Me?
And the map. Those fishmen will tear this place apart if Zeph doesn't turn him over.
Where are you going?
If Baratie is in danger, I need to be there.
All right, I'm coming with you.
Did you not hear what I just said?
Yeah, so they're completely disregarding Dung Krieg and making Arlong the main star. I guess because the last 2 episodes are all about the Arlong Park
I'm going
arc,
to protect this place.
so they're just going to combine everything and not just have Dung Krieg show up just to meet be defeated.
Look, I know this crew. Their captain, Arlong, has the highest bounty in all of the East Blue. You do not want to mess with him.
It sounds like you messed with us first.
Alright, so they're going to do the Luffy Sanji protecting the Baratie this way. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, fishmen are one of the most interesting characters in the One Piece world because it's Oda's version of a racist motif, and it's really interesting, especially all the fishmen we meet down the line, like Hachan, which I don't think he's here since Ruby and Shu are here, but not him, so I assume he's going to be cut from the show because they couldn't animate octopus
So
tentacles.
was I.
And then later down the line, when we actually go to the Fishman Kingdom and stuff, it's pretty interesting. I like having it.
Marines flee before my flag.
How'd you find me anyway?
Old friend helped me track you down.
Oh god, Buggy. Oh.
Hey, a straw hat! Did you miss me? These fine fishy folk persuaded me to point him in the right direction, which ain't easy when you don't have any hands.
How do you even know how to find me?
I told you. I've got eyes and ears everywhere.
Oh, that's creepy as crap. Oh, here we go. I'm curious to see how they'll do the live action fight if they'll actually kill Zeph, because the Fishman Pirates don't show up at all during the actual thing. Especially since Arlong Park is definitely the last 2 episodes of this series, so they're gonna have to keep going with, I guess, being defeated here and then keep going. Oh, that was a shot from the trailer.
Not bad for a human.
Oh, so they're gonna do it this way. Instead of her stealing the ship and escaping,
I have the map.
she's going to join them and leave that way.
I was never on your crew.
I only joined up with you so I could steal the map.
Oh, yep. Arlong taught too.
I don't believe that.
Let's waste your time killing a devil fruit eater.
So they're still playing the same kind of hits from beforehand. They're just connecting the story more linearly. Whoa. Sanji, holy shit. They picked a good Sanji though. I'm excited to see him in a suit and tie.
I did not save your life so you could waste it at Baratie.
It's not like I can just leave.
Why the hell not?
Because you couldn't run this place without me.
Oh, please, little eggplant. Your cooking is for shit.
Yeah, well, at least I don't drown everything in oregano.
Yeah, well, at least I'm not the one who goes on moaning about the all blue. You've been yammering on about that since you was a snotty-nosed little brat. Well, I tell you now, if it means that much to you, go find it.
Look, you want me to quit? Is that what you want?
Quitting is staying here. Thing to have a dream, it's another to go after it.
For me a spot on his crew, maybe I take him up on that offer.
You want my permission? You got it. Fine, fine, fine.
Zeph, man, master of tough love.
To wake. I'm gonna keep talking or let me get some sleep.
Zoro, you're not dead! Oh!
So at least he's going in wounded. That's what makes it the most interesting for the next arc. So I like that.
I, Roronoa Zoro, vow to stand by your side. From now until the end. You're my captain, Luffy.
At least they did this moment.
What do we do now? Plot a course for the Grand Line? But I thought we were going after the One Piece. We are. But we can't do it without our whole crew. We're going after Nami.
Here we go.
Heard you guys need a cook.
Yes, we do!
That was quick. They better show the super important part in the manga. Are they not going to? Oh, he looks so good in a suit and tie. I love it. So they didn't show Carney, but they did show Patty, but less of Patty being a crazy guy to it.
Hey, Sanji! You keep your feet dry.
You know, all these years, living under your shitty roof, cooking at your shitty restaurant, I owe you my life. Thank you for putting up with my shit all these years, old man. I'll never forget you, Zeph.
It kind of went by fast, but I'm really glad they put in that moment. Almost made me cry. At least they did it. I was really freaking worried that they were going to leave that destroyed restaurant scene in the last one. I really wish they would have shown like Patty and Carney getting up to some shit with like the duck boat that like shoots cannon, like that meatball and stuff like that, and like the cannon. But the Dung Creek fight was completely blown away. Pearl wasn't there. Jin showed up for just slightly. But I guess Jin is still alive then, since the live action showed instead of Jin getting poisoned, completely alive. At least they did the Mihawk fight pretty good. Oh my gosh, they kept Buggy. How are they gonna manage this? It's very interesting that in the live action version, they're keeping all the characters together, since, as you know, they leave all around, like in the anime and manga. Like, Dung Creek kind of went out like a wimp. Pearl didn't happen, like I said, at the closing minutes. Patty didn't help protect the Baratie people or ships. Looking at Zoro, and of course, Zoro was another bedridden, or kind of pushed away for like the first... He didn't even fight in this one, so he was away for the whole entire episode. So, an episode of Zoro, and then his Mihawk fight, and then no episode of Zoro. So it's just kind of disappointing of how they're doing that, because he's kind of like always around even while wounded, but since they're going more for a real feel, they can't really have him basically bleeding everywhere and not explaining why he's not dying. So kind of disappointing the way they're doing that. The Jeff and Sanji moment was pretty cool. The backstory was definitely how I wanted it to be in the live action version, and they kept the manga reason of why he lost a leg. In the anime, they did change it because they thought it was too dark. Basically, in the anime, it was him. He couldn't get to Sanji because he was stuck, so he took a chain and cut off his leg like that. And then just sheer willpower was why he survived on the island. But in the manga, he ate it like the live action version did. So that was a nice, kept the same way that they did that. Yeah, a bit disappointing of like Don Creek not being there, because that's the first like main bad guy that Luffy destroyed. And having Arlong show up randomly was very confusing. So Yosoku and Johnny weren't there. And also, Nami didn't steal the ship because she was already thinking that they were friends. She finally had the resolve of like, hey, don't kill Luffy. And then she left with Arlong and them. So that gets her to Kokoyashi Island, which does make sense. It's just kind of The way they're mixing in the characters is just kind of confusing, but they probably don't want to waste anybody. Now Buggy showing up as well as a head, that's going to be an interesting dynamic because the live action series is completely different than the actual main One Piece series. So it's going to be interesting on how that kind of resolves itself because it's kind of excitable. They're keeping the same kind of tiny details all around, like having to get Nami to the island. So I bet they had a script. It's like, okay, how do we get Nami to the island, but use characters we have? Okay, let's have Arlong show up. Let's have Buggy show up. And have Buggy have an ear and Straw Hat's hat. Which doesn't really make sense, to be honest, because with how much Luffy messes with his hat and how much he loves it and like plays with it, there's no way at all he wouldn't notice. Especially because right after Buggy sliced into his hat, Nami immediately started repairing it. And there's no way she wouldn't feel that, especially with how crazy she is about the little details. And she would for sure notice that there was an ear in the ribbon. That's just a plot hole. It's not true. It's not going to work. Yeah, I'm excited to get into the last 2 episodes of the series. For this episode, the Zeph and Sanji storyline was pretty well done, and their resolve of like was less emotional than in the anime and manga, because in the anime and manga he like fully out and bows down and is like, thank you so much, I love you, basically. Like it was a lot more heartfelt. But for this one, they spent like most of it on the backstory in the scene. Still pretty good. Like definitely Sanji, little kid. He had more to work with dramatic wise, so that's why I think he was definitely the best one, because you could see the emotions in his face, how basically distraught they were. But for me, I think I'm going to give this one a 6 out of 10. Not too much happened, but it was still had a lot of solidifying moments of like seeing their different interactions between the crew and how Luffy and Zoro did. And there were emotional moments finally coming together from across the previous episode. And Nami finally picking her place in the crew, and Usopp slowly coming into himself, and Sanji immediately like, let's do this, let's go. Even though there's a lot more pushback in the anime manga, I feel like that they want to push this along and get things going. So there's a bit of rushing here and there, but also, I guess you could call it like reason why I didn't like the Eternals, that Marvel movie. The pacing's really, really fast, but also really, really slow. So it's just kind of confusing of like, it goes whoosh, and then it skeeters to a halt to get to the story beat that everybody's looking for, that are previous fans of the show from the anime and manga. And it's like, okay, we're going to hit that story beat, and then we're going to move on to something completely different, like Arlong showing up, and then we're going to hit that story beat. So it's a bit confusing at times. I don't know, it just doesn't really place right on what it wants to be, but it's still very fun to see, and like all the sets and everything, all the interactions with the characters is really awesome to see in a different format and how things are going. So I'm really excited to finish this up. So thank you everyone for watching, and I will see you in the last 2 episodes. Have a great day.